energy analysis for HVAC systems is centered around heating and cooling loads. Once you create spaces in a project and specify settings for the building type and other items, we can use the heating and cooling loads tool to test and calculate the energy demands of the model. In this example, we're going to run the heating and cooling loads tool and review the details. We'll also identify any problems with any of the spaces, we'll return to the model to solve them, and then we'll rerun the software and calculate the analysis. A couple of things we need to do first under the Analyze is set the location, and we can also then move on and change the energy settings. First thing we need to do here is the mode. We need to change it from conceptual masses to actually using building elements. We'll also need to go down to the more advanced settings, and this way we can actually change the building type. We'll set this to a school, and we have to make sure that the element or the export category are using spaces and not rooms. Once we've set these, we can then go OK. So let's do a test and run the heating and cooling loads. This can be found in the Analyze tab ribbon. So once this loads up, you can see we've already got the building type set from our energy settings. If we select the details, we can actually see we have a few warnings. So if we check the first one, and it's actually telling us we actually have a few spaces that don't actually exist in the model anymore. We'll also be able to see warnings indicating other areas, in this case room 2000, and it has a problem with the ceiling. It doesn't have a bounding ceiling representing that particular space, so another area will have to change. So in this case I'm just going to save settings, and we'll move out to replicate some of the problems we've actually got. So if we check underneath the default, we have indeed got a few areas that don't exist in the model. We've also got a couple of plumbing chases here that are set to occupiable. We can tell this by the actual icon that's shown next to the name of the space. So first thing to do is I'll highlight both of these spaces, and in the properties we're going to go and change the occupiable setting, take the tick away, and that'll sort those out. And now what we'll do is we'll highlight the plenum spaces here that don't actually exist, so we can shift and select each of those, right hand click, and I'll delete those. So we need to move these plumbing chases from a default into their proper zone. So we can see these, when we highlight these, we can see them in the model. Again, we could use the show option, but what we need to do is actually add these to the zone that already exists. So let's highlight that existing zone, and then here you'll get an edit zone option. So it's already set to add spaces, and we just need to add these 2 spaces from that list. So we now have 4 spaces in that particular zone. So once we finish that, you'll see that the default zone is actually empty. So classroom 2000, which was the other one we have a problem with, now you'll notice that it doesn't show there's an error in here, so we needed to use the heating and cooling loads to actually find that error. So let's go to that section which was handy in here, and there's 2 things we could have done. We could actually drag that space up, or we can just change the limit on the offset. So now it includes that ceiling space. So we've got an upper level for this particular space. And then we can run the heating and cooling loads again. And we know now that those problems won't exist. So we just need to pick calculate. This can take a little bit of time depending on the model and the complexity. But you can see here it's pretty quick. And here we break in the report is broken down to project summary, the building summary, as the building as a total, and then you can see we've actually got this broken down into zones. So the report shows information for the zones. And then we can also see we have actually hyperlinks to each of the actual rooms within that zone. So let's go down to our 01103 zone, and we can see there's our classroom 2000, and we go straight to that classroom. So that's the heating and cooling loads within Revit MEP.